Welcome to my journey through the Bible. This will be a summary of 2 Kings chapter 9, verses 1 through 37. Elijah had called one of the sons of the prophets and had told him, "Make yourself ready. Take this box of oil and go and find Jehu and take him into an upper chamber. Pour the oil upon his head and tell him that the Lord has anointed you to be king of Israel. And then open the door and flee. Do not tarry." So this young prophet had found the captain sitting among his men. And he said, "I have something to tell you." And Jehu said, "Say it among all of us." And the young prophet had said, "No, this message is for you alone." So Jehu had arose and went into the house. And the young prophet had took out the box of oil and poured it upon Jehu's head and said, "The Lord has anointed you to be king of his people and over Israel. You will smite the house of Ahab, your master, so that the blood of your servants of the prophet and the blood of the servants of the Lord at the hands of Jezebel and the whole house of Ahab should be at perish and be cut off. Make him as the kings before him that has had all of their family destroyed. And the dogs will eat the flesh of Jezebel, and there will be none left of her to bury." And then the prophet opened the door, and he fled. And Jehu had came forth before the servants of his men. And one of his servants had said, "What did this madman want with you?" And Jehu said, "You know this man, and you know the communication that he has. He had spoke to me and said, 'The Lord has anointed me to be king of Israel.'" And then every man took off his garment, and he laid it down at the feet of Jehu, and who was at top of the stairs. They blew the trumpet and said, "Jehu is the king." And Jehu said, "Is this well with you in your mind? Let none of you go forth to tell Jezebel." And Jehu had rode in his chariot, and he went to Jezebel. Now Jeroboam was there, and he was wounded from battle. The king of Judah was there to see Jeroboam as well. There was a watchman that was on the tower of Jezebel, and said, I spy the company of Jehu coming near." And Jeroboam sent out one on horseback to meet him, to ask, "Have you came in peace?" And Jehu said, "What do you have to do with peace? Turn you behind me." And the messenger did get behind him. And then there was another messenger that was sent out, asking the same question. "The king wants to know, have you came in peace?" And Jehu said, "What do you have to do with peace? Turn behind me." And the messenger had went behind him in his company. And then the watchman had said, "The messengers have joined the company of Jehu, and he is driving furiously." And Jeroboam said, "Make ready my chariot." So the king of Israel went in one chariot, and the king of Judah went in another chariot, and they met in the land of Naboth. Where Jeroboam saw Jehu, he said to him, "Do you come in peace?" And Jehu answered, "What peace, as long as the whoredom of your mother Jezebel and her wicked crafts are so many." And then Jeroboam had turned to flee, and he said, "This is treason." Jehu drew his bow, and with full strength he hit Jeroboam between his arms, and it went through his heart, and his body did sink down into the chariot. And Jehu had told the captains to throw his body down into the fields of Naboth, which was robbed from his land. I have seen the blood of Naboth and the blood of his sons, said the Lord. Cast him out into the land, as the words of the Lord. And the king of Judah had saw this, and he fled into the gardens. And then Jehu had told his men, Go after him and kill him. And they did as they were told. And then the king's servants had carried his chariot and him and buried him in the city of David. And now Jezebel had heard all of this that has happened, and she painted her face and tied up her head. She looked out of the window, and Jehu was entering into the gate. And she said, Do you have peace now that you killed your master? And Jehu lifted up his face up to the window, and he said, Who is on my side? Throw her down. And they threw her down, and some of her blood was sprinkled on the wall. Some of it was sprinkled on the horses. And Jehu did trample her over her under his feet. And he went in, and he went to eat, and he drank. And then he said, Go and see this cursed woman and bury her body, because she is the daughter of a king. And the servants had came back and said, When they went to go get her, there was not much of her that was left. There was her skull and her hands and her feet. And they told this to Jehu, and he said, This is the words of the Lord that was spoken by Elijah, that the portion of Jezebel would be eaten by dogs. So the carcass of Jezebel was unrecognizable. May God be with you in everything and every way.